Welcome back to another installment of You're Doing It Wrong, a publishing series where we lovingly tell you, like an overbearing mother-in-law after watching her children, that you're doing it wrong. This week, we're talking about interior formatting. Now, put some socks on that baby because it's cold in here. Number one on things you're doing wrong is not justifying your text. If we had a nickel for every left-aligned book that we saw, we would be able to buy that baby some socks. Go grab any book off your shelf and look at the text. It's going to be justified. I promise you. I'll give you a second to look. Told you. Justified text alignment can be fine-tuned in some programs to ensure that there are no big gaps in between words. And also remember, you have complete creative control over your content, so you can play around with the wording of sentences to make sure everything appears properly on the page. Also, please just stop doing this for our colleague Lauren's sake before her head explodes. Next up are widows and orphans. So a widow is a line of text in a paragraph that appears at the top of a column. And then an orphan is a single word or syllable that appears at the bottom of a paragraph. So these can just kind of look out of place on the page, but are easily fixed. And don't worry, these can happen all the time when typesetting long-form content, but it is a telltale sign of amateur work. Orphans and widows can be easily fixed by adjusting the spacing between words, hyphenation, or rewording a paragraph. Be sure to leave fixing widows and orphans until the end because any adjustments to the text can shift things later on. So when you go to fix these problems, be sure to work from beginning to end. Next up are narrow margins and gutters. So margins allow your readers to hold the book comfortably, it makes it easy to read, and it allows space for design elements such as page numbers and headings. So as you're putting your book together, make sure that you are allowing enough space for all of these things. Lulu templates show a margin of 1/2 inch, but remember that's the minimum. So it's likely that you may want to add more to allow for the elements mentioned. Don't forget about the gutter. The gutter are the inside margins of your book where the pages are glued to the spine. So since books don't lay completely flat, unless you're making a coil-bound edition exclusively at lulu.com, you need to allow some extra space so the text doesn't get lost in the spine. Depending on your page count, you may have to increase the size of your gutter, but don't worry, you can refer to our book creation guide for help with this. Next up are running heads. So running heads are the headings that you'll see on the top of the page in traditionally published books. So this may include the book title, the author name, or the name of the chapter, depending on the type of the book. We usually see two problems with running heads. So the first one is not having them at all. So you're probably going to want to include some type or iteration of a running head because it helps your reader navigate your book. And the second problem we see is having them on the wrong pages. So even though you'll want to include them in your book, there are some pages that you're not going to want to add them to. The places that you never want to see a running head are your title and half-title pages, your chapter pages, the opening, the front and back matter of your book, your preface, and your table of contents. Be sure to comb through your document after you're adding your running heads to make sure they're not on any display pages or blank pages. Next up are page numbers. Obviously essential to any book, but similar to running heads, we often see them in places that we shouldn't, like display pages or blank pages. Another problem that we see with page numbers is when they are too close to the edge of the page. So you don't want anyone to be opening your book and it looks like the text didn't expect to be there or it's too close to the edge and getting cut off. So you want everything in your interior file to look really intentional and professional, and page numbers are no exception. Next up are too many fonts. I know we all like to have fun. I love fun and I love fonts. Fonts are fun. However, when you're writing your book, you really only want to have 2 to 3 fonts in the book. So for your main text, make it a really easy to read font. You don't have to go crazy. Just make it something easy to read and enjoyable for the reader. And then have a contrasting font for your chapter headings and your title pages and things like that. So again, 2 to 3 fonts is the best way to go and is going to make for a very pleasurable reading experience for your audience. For more formatting problems and solutions, check out our videos on print book formatting and 5 visual indicators your book is self-published. So those are all the things you may be doing wrong in your interior formatting. And now you know how to do them right. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.